Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy, know y'all with me, let's get it, baby, Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy, know you with me, let's get it, baby. Boys just came back from their mission.
Welcome back to another edition of the KSL.com Rockin' Royal podcast, the podcast for BYU fans who rock the wide right way. It's been a minute, but I'm your host, Sean Walker, KSL.com College Sports BYU beat writer, covering all things Big 12 in Utah County and the Wasatch Front and beyond. I'm here getting ready for football season, which starts, well, for all intents and purposes, I guess it's never really stops, but it really gets going this week. Big 12 football media days this Tuesday and Wednesday in Frisco, Texas. Back to Texas after a one-year layover in Las Vegas. Not going back to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, but it's going to be in Frisco at the Star Training Center, the training center for the Dallas Cowboys. So a little bit of a change-up, but still back in more familiar grounds, I think, for most of the league. It was nice being back on the West Coast in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Raiders organization were awesome there with the conference, but the Big 12 feels Texas. We'll be totally real about that. We're obviously biased towards the West here at KSL.com, but the Big 12 is Texas. And going back to Texas, I think, will be great. It'll be great to see all 16 teams, their head coaches, 4 to 5 players from each team will be there making the rounds, going through media car washes, radio, TV, ESPN will be on site, as well as print and digital reporters from across the conference. So just one big conglomeration of media days. Brett Yormark will be there, the Big 12 commissioner, as well as other officials from the league and its partners. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And so we're going to head into football preview season the next 2 months or so, as we get into training camp and other preseason activities. Are going to be a lot of talking season. No official Big 12 preseason media poll will be done at football media days, but you can bet there are going to be a whole bunch of unofficial ones, whether or not they pick, Texas Tech with their high-dollar budget to win the league, or Kansas State with Avery Johnson is back. BYU, I think, was in contention to win the league, and now all of a sudden things look a little bit up in the air with Jake Retzlaff's situation and the rising fifth-year senior likely transferring from the university, according to multiple sources. But I think this BYU team should be in the mix for a top half of the league finish, and let's be real, they still return a big chunk of what made them successful last year during their breakout 11-2 season, 7-2 in the Big 12, finished in the top 4 of the conference, just barely missed out on the conference championship game. Big chunks of that defense are back, including a linebacker core led by Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasgow, Sialia Serra, I think could be really good this year. Ace Kafusi, Shea Bryan Strother. I think all of them are ready to lead a very talented defensive group under second-year defensive coordinator Jay Hill, who continues to work magic in Provo. And a big chunk of the offense is back as well. You got LJ Martin back at running back. He'll be a junior this year. Chase Roberts, I think, not going to the NFL draft, coming back for his final season. His senior season at BYU, I think, is a really big deal. But on that note of wide receivers, BYU was hit a little bit in the wide receiver room. Darius Lassiter was set to transfer with all of his, graduate. Darius Lassiter was set to graduate. His eligibility initially elapsed after his very strong time at BYU following a transfer from Eastern Michigan. And yet there was kind of some late drama in whether or not he could maybe get an extra year to come back to Provo. He was interested in it. BYU was interested in it. They applied for a waiver through what's being called the Pavia ruling, the legal enforcement arm by a Tennessee judge that's allowing Diego Pavia another year to play quarterback at Vanderbilt, based on the fact that he didn't use all of his collegiate eligibility in the NCAA system as a junior college transfer. Darius Lassiter has that same issue, so there's a 1-year stay on some of these junior college prospects that can apply for a waiver and potentially come back for another year. Darius didn't get it. He wasn't able to get that waiver to come back. He's now in training camp with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so we'll see if he can catch on with that roster, and he'll be one of our locals in the NFL this fall. Hopefully, maybe, possibly, we shall see if he catches on with that organization or another in the National Football League. So Darius isn't back. And then BYU's wide receiver room maybe saw the biggest stunner of the offseason when Keelan Marion entered the transfer portal in April, left a big void amongst his receivers, and transferred to Miami. Obviously, he's another transfer, former UConn. But an All-American leaving your room. He's an All-American kick returner, first-team All-American kick returner, first-team All-Big 12 at kick returner, as well as he was going to be counted on to be one of BYU's top wide receivers this year. It was a moment that when I caught up with wide receivers coach Fesi Sitake, he admitted to me it very much, it kind of shook him. He was surprised. He got really close to Keelan, not just professionally on the football field, but also personally. And he was pretty shocked that Keelan left for the transfer portal and ultimately for Miami. But he said he took a deep breath and kind of looked around and realized what this BYU team has. And they're going to be investing in youth, in some very talented youth that I think could be really good. You've got Parker Kingston. He'll be a junior this year, if you can hardly believe it. His third year in the system. He had a breakout season last year on special teams, returning a couple punts for a touchdown. And I think he'll be counted on to be one of BYU's go-to wide receivers this year, alongside, obviously, the rising senior Chase Roberts, to kind of provide a little bit of a leadership anchor in that group. Obviously, we can't leave out Roberts. 52 catches, 854 yards last year. That was a team high for the team. Should be a team high again for this squad. But then think of the talent of the likes of Jojo Phillips and Cody Hagen, who I think saw flashes last year as redshirt freshmen and true freshmen. And you saw a little bit of what they could do. Played a fair amount on special teams. Now they'll get a big opportunity, potentially starting opportunity, at least for some games, if not more. For those two rising sophomores, I think they could be in line for a big breakout season. And then Tate Nakua, yes, he is the younger brother of former BYU wideouts Samson Nakua and Puka Nakua, and then the eldest brother, star safety Kai Nakua. He'll officially be I believe, a redshirt freshman this season, but we saw some flashes of what he could do. Is another standout at Timpview High School that I think could be really good and flash some big playability when he came in the spring. As sort of that gray shirt year or early enrollee year. I think Tate Nakua could be a big target of some investment, some early investment. And then LeMason Waller III, the four-star prospect who committed to BYU out of the class of 2025 as well. He's on campus. He's been learning the playbook. He had a really good spring, according to Sitake and offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick and other coaches. He should be in line for some pretty good reps and any potential breakout year. But maybe the biggest move in all of this is BYU went to the portal after Keelan transferred, and they pulled in two guys in Snow College transfer Reggie Frischknecht, who was originally bound for Weber State, and Stanford transfer Tiger Bachmeier. Now, you may know the Bachmeier name. His older brother, Bear Bachmeier, was a former four-star quarterback out of Murrieta, California. And the two, both of them, both the older Tiger and the younger Bear, they were both at Stanford and just absolutely dominant, excelling in spring camp before the Cardinal had a coaching change. Troy Taylor fired by general manager Andrew Luck. Frank Wright will be the interim coach there, and both of them hit the portal. Well, Bear Bachmeier was obviously a very high-profile target in that transfer portal, not just for BYU, but for a lot of teams. Former four-star recruit, had his pick of the litter up and down the West Coast, wherever he wanted to go. He ultimately goes to BYU, and it was in large part because the Cougars wanted his brother, Tiger Bachmeier, as much as they did. Tiger Bachmeier He is officially a graduate transfer from Stanford, received his degree in computer science in 2.5 years with the Cardinals. So he's got a little bit of that genius for him. And he was, in the sophomore season with the Cardinal, he got hurt for a couple of games, only had 67 yards in the receiving game, played a whole bunch more, though, on punt return. So he's got that special teams ability in him. And then when he came in as a freshman, he was thrown into action a little bit mercilessly, and he absolutely excelled. 11.4 yards per catch, 409 total yards, 2 touchdowns as a freshman in 2023. Now he'll get his chance to be a leader, the 6'1", 190-pounder out of Lake Elsinore, California. I think Tiger Bachmeier could be really good for this BYU program. And I'm not alone. As I mentioned before, I caught up with BYU wide receivers coach Fesi Sitake, who talked about some of the additions that BYU added, as well as one particular name, Parker Kingston, PK, to a lot of his friends and teammates, who BYU fans should probably get to know pretty well for this fall.
Yeah, like you said, Chase is the consummate leader in every way. Like, I'm so glad he came back because he's the alpha. He's everything you want in a leader. But Parker and Jojo have really emerged in their own ways, and Parker has kind of increased his vocal leadership. But more than anything, he's felt that the right kind of pressure of, this is my breakout year. Like, all my patience I've had in wanting more reps and wanting more play time, like, this is the year. And so that's kind of just parlayed into his work ethic and how he carries himself, and guys are latching on to him. Parker and Jojo are perfect examples that to be a leader, you don't have to be super vocal in every way. And there's times that you do need to step up and say something, but the way they work, the way they show up, the way they're consistent, most importantly, those are leadership qualities that go beyond your experience and how many years you've been in a program or how much you talk. And I think those guys are great examples of leading in that way. And so that's where I feel the leadership's it's already been coming from Chase, and it still is. Sure. But when you ask where is it coming from, Parker and Jojo are the first off the top of the head, and those are the reasons why.
Parker's still looking for a bigger breakout year, I'm sure, in the wide receiver room, but he had a really good one. Even the last 2 years, but certainly last year on special teams. Yeah. Has that confidence that he had mostly in the punt returns kind of translated to him in the wide receiver room, where he's like, hey, I can hang with these guys, I can deal with these guys at this level?
Yeah, and really, Parker's always been able to hang since he stepped foot on here. It's just a matter of time and working into those reps. A lot of times it's because of who's in front of him and their experience, and sometimes that's part of waiting. Is who's in front of you and the time they put in. Sometimes it's you got to refine a certain skill or whatever it is. The nice thing with Parker is these punt returns have been able to just fans, teammates, and coaches just to say, this guy's dynamic with the ball in his hand. But he, every year, has increasingly been getting more reps. This is the break. When I say breakout year, he's going to have more reps every single game, which means more opportunities to have those explosive plays that he's already had up to this point. So that's why I think this is a great opportunity. If he stays healthy, this fall should be a good payday for him.
The transfer portal is obviously a thing, and I think you guys have done as good a job as anybody of adapting to it, both. And sometimes, unfortunately, that also means you're going to lose guys like Keelan to a place like Miami, but you can gain a guy maybe like Tiger coming in. And I wanted to ask you specifically about him, but in relation to sort of that move, that feels a little bit like a move. Like, I don't know if you were surprised by Keelan maybe jumping in the portal and leaving, but it seems like once that happened, like, a guy like Tiger Bachmeier pops up in the portal, and that's probably a pretty quick call that you make, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was a surprise. It was unfortunate to lose Keelan. I became very close with him and still am, and I wish him the best. And he had to make a decision that was best for him. And like you said, we got to adapt. Once I found out, it was a shock to me and kind of blindsided me a bit. But I was able to, take a breath and with the offensive staff just say, okay, who can we fill in, bring in to fill in that role. And when you factor in Cody Hagen, who's been here, who's nursing an injury, you factor in Tay Nakua, the trajectory he's on, you factor in Tiger Bachmeier, and now Reggie Frischknecht, and what they've done.
Reggie,
and in their time here, I can confidently say I feel it's been a net gain with the room. Those guys have picked up the offense. Reggie and Tiger have picked up the offense as fast as anyone as I've coached. And that's just a huge testament to them and their ability to do that. And then seeing the little we've been able to see them throughout the summer, they look really good, man. They bring a awesome skill set to the room. They're different types of players, but as long as they stay on the track they're on, I think we'll be able to catch a good glimpse of them this fall, and they're only going to keep getting better, obviously.
I'll try to ask this or phrase this in a way where I'm not making you give away too much or putting you in a weird spot, but what's the number one thing that you like about Tiger Bachmeier? Like, when you look at him, you watch him on film or you know, the little bit you've been able to see him in person, is there something that jumps out where you're like, dadgum, like that is something that's going to be really, really useful here? Yeah,
he just does everything. He's just really good at everything. He's really quick. He's twitchy. He's really smart. You don't have to kind of beat a dead horse on certain coaching points with him. You tell him one thing and he fixes it the next time. Like I said, he's ultra smart. Like, there's guys who I've had who like scholastically really pop out on paper, but they haven't been able to pick up the offense, and football doesn't make sense to them. Tiger's a genius, man. Like, you don't graduate from Stanford in 2.5 years in computer science.
With a computer science degree,
but it's what you would expect in the football sense. He luckily he's able to be just as smart in football. He gets it, man. And so I'm really excited for him. He's super competitive. He's got a great feel at adjusting to the ball. I don't like drawing comparisons, but when there's one that I feel is justified, I do it. He, to me, reminds me a lot of Dax in the way he's built, in the way he plays, his competitiveness, his twitchiness, the physicality. And so I'm excited. That's what I feel he'll bring to us.
Awesome.
Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me. Let's get it, baby. Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me. Let's get it, baby.